What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic Arts Deeksy back with another high school Deeksy related video, and today we have What If Issei Was Betrayed part 16. And once again, let's try to hit 300 to 400 likes for this video. This part was absolutely amazing, and oh my god, I cannot tell you how awesome this was. But if you guys want to know when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button, or click the first link in the description, the first link in the premiere, the first link in this little premiere we got going on, and the first link in the comment section down below. And yes, become a part of the squad. But without further ado, let's go ahead and thank my Balance Breakers, or Juggernaut Drive members, which is Lachlan Yates, Ant Lewis, Cool Ninja 12, Nate Ammo, and Nuga Booga Una. Thank you so much to my Balance Breakers and Juggernaut Drive members. Also, thank you to all my Limit Breakers. Y'all are some real homies too. And obviously, the next we have up is a shout out to my Patreon members, which is Smells Noise, Lachlan Yates, Godkiller, Dragon33171, Mark Bacon, Lord Fluff, and Just_Zeke. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon member. Now, I'm not going to hold you guys too much, okay? This part is gas. Irino is a fire character right here. You know, Ria's got a little bit of character development, but without further intrusion, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into What If Issei Was Betrayed, Part 16. Chapter 18. Issei wandered in his mind. He knew he was unconscious after the fight. He did feel tired. He had to admit that Ria Sanakano striking him in the same spot was quite damaging. He would bear that scar. He felt the flames come up as Drake appeared before him. I must say, well done, but you did underestimate the Heiress and her queen, Drake says. You don't have to tell me twice. My stupid... If they don't heal it, I'll bear the scar for my stupidity. How long have I been out? Issei says. About a day. You were wise to isolate yourself from Kiba as well, Drake says. Hey, I wanted a fair fight with him, but I don't think the others would have had the honor to give us that fight, Issei says. The Gremory might have, considering how she wants to please her pieces, since she's already screwed up with the others, Drake says. I'll admit, she has shown some maturity, but haven't we all? I mean, we've all been through so much, Issei says. Indeed. It all started with Fryzer. Then you faced Cocoville, Drake says. I didn't do much there. All I did was help Kiba overcome his trauma. But look at what happened. To be honest, I didn't do much. Well, it was you that made the decision to come together with the former exorcist, Drake says. Tch, I was a head, Drake, and you know it. First thing upon seeing my childhood friend was trying to strip her, Issei replied. Ha! If you were in a private setting, she would have allowed it. Why else would she be in love with you after 12 years, Drake says. I guess. She also gave me advice. I wasn't ready for combat, and I have you. I should have been ready. You know, if Rias had just sent me to Tani Nojisama when she reincarnated me, I would have been on a different level when I started off, Issei says. What makes you think you would have been better, Drake says. Looking back on my training with Tani, he would have whooped that perversion out of me. Rias only instigated it, thus was more power up. Like, seriously, I was a screw-up. Drake, me, the carrier of the Red Dragon of Domination. My power-up was boobs, Issei said. Ha! Yeah, but it had been some interesting adventures. You don't even use that Drace Break move anymore. Now you have Penetrate, that you instilled into your moveset, meaning that all of your attacks are practically unblockable. You developed an avatar that is the representation of your rage. Regardless of your perversion, why do you think I begged for you to be revived? Other than yourself, no one knows you better than me. I have been with you since your miraculous birth, Drake says. Yeah. I'm only here because my father prayed for my existence. I guess you came as a package deal, Issei replied. Maybe you understood my pain in regards to the Opie Dragon name, but I also understood why you didn't change it at the time. I saw how you felt when you read those letters from the children of the underworld, Drake says. Yeah, you know, sometimes I wonder how it would be if you weren't my partner, Drake. Well, you'd still have that angel. I think you would have given her the sense of normalcy, Drake says. You think so, Issei replied. She loved you for 12 years. She has even told you that she would have go above and beyond for you. Did you forget that? Remember, she told you that childhood friends are more important than girlfriends, Drake says, but it goes both ways. Are they more important than boyfriends, Issei replied. It would be a misrepresentation of her character, in my opinion. You also want to know what's funny, Drake says. What? When we first talked about how you spoke of your dream of a harem, what about it? I had said it with me. It would be easier to pull up the opposite sex, but I really didn't do anything. The Black Nakamata was right about you. You do have a charm about you, something that many want to replicate for themselves. In the beginning, they saw you as a useless pervert with no talent, but yet they could sew headbands, make a perfect clay statue of your former love. I have seen you with computers and video editing. You've helped the former church trio with their DVTube videos. Thank you, Drake. However, Issei continues, and then gets stopped. Yes, the hunt is not over. I know, that fight did not fully cecitate you. It is expected you as being a dragon. It's not actually surprising that you and Volley act the way you do. You do appreciate opponents that give you a fight. But like a dragon, we like to collect for you. It was collecting women. You treated them as treasures, and a dragon protects its treasures. For Volley, it was the fights, which is I say you enjoy them yourselves. And dragons like to fight. You're actually intrigued about fighting the Gremory again, if she gets better, but you are more interested in facing her brother. I want to ascend to new heights, past the levels of being a pervert, Issei says. You've done that. It took some time, but you did. Now imagine when you apply my flames would penetrate to your attacks and raise the primal level of Apophysis, Drake says. We could beat Arius. But I hold back because I need to master all the skills I have, and I'm afraid of going haywire or Juggernaut Drive like State. I was afraid of myself back of what I've become. Not your fault. You thought one of your treasures was killed, of course. You would take revenge, Drake says. A bit ironic, considering that I'd help Kiva overcome his own revenge, huh? True, but what's done is done, Drake says. Yeah, Issei sighed. You should wake up, but do so quietly. Why, letting me go so soon, Issei said. Just trust me. Alright, Issei says. He focused his senses onto his body and stopped as he sensed the holy energy. It can't be. But it is, Drake says. Issei opened his eyes. He could tell that he was in the hospital room, a luxurious one, so he knew that he was still in the underworld. He felt a presence to the left of him as he slowly turned his head. He held a gasp and turned back to the ceiling. He could not forget the orange brunette-haired woman that was on her table in the chair beside the hospital bed. That's, Issei said, as your other mate would say, yes, that's your first wife, Drake says. She only keeps looking better with age, and damn! Quickly opening his eyes again, he had caught the movement and he was calming his nerves. Since he had a machine that was tracking his heartbeat, the machine was alerted. Irina from her seat, she got up and went by the bedside. Issei, as she placed her hand on his cheek. Wow, Issei says. For the first time in 18 months, he was able to feel her touch again. It's okay, Issei-kun, don't worry. No more nightmares, your guardian angel is here. Issei nearly choked as he heard that, but his heart skipped a beat and calmed down. Hearing the machine go back to normal heartbeat, Irina smiled as she knew he was calm again. Much better. Sleep tight, Irina said as she leaned down and gave him a kiss on his forehead, then both cheeks and then his lips. It took a lot of Issei's willpower not to kiss her back. When he felt her lips on his, he could see the sigh. He could hear her sigh, and he felt it leave Chico surprisingly. He felt cold. He heard the rustle of her getting back into the chair and cuddling up to it. He waited a few minutes before opening his eyes and looked in her direction. She wasn't facing him, but he could see her silhouette. Thanks to the light on the table in the moonlight, he saw her begin to move and head towards the windows and look out from it in the streets below. Even in the underworld's moonlight, she still looked beautiful. Something else that he noticed was neither Lilith nor Kano was cuddled up to him. He then heard a beep coming in from the tablet, and then some music began to softly play for the first time. He got to hear Irina sing. I am not singing this. Before somebody tells me to sing this, I am not singing this. We are skipping the singing part. Okay? I'm going... yeah. She basically sings to him, and he thinks it's amazing, and I'm going to read that part, and we're going to keep up where we left off. He didn't know at what point, but something during the song. Tears went down his eyes. He could tell parts of the song, if not all of it, was directed at him, and it stemmed him back to 18 months ago. He knew that back then, the choices that he made to protect his loved ones would also hurt them. Of course, Irina was one that was most hurt, and she was letting him know. Despite the talks that they have on the phone, she hid in her pain because he left. Partner, Drake says. I left her. I shouldn't have, but I did. Issei says, I know. It was a painful decision for you to do so, but you are back with her now. Where you go from there is up to you, Drake says. Did you hear those lyrics, Drake? Her image of the future is changing. She's making new plans, and I'm not in them, Issei says. If that's the case, then why is she still here? She would not have kissed you, Drake says. You're right, but then why would she... She wanted you to hear it, so you know how she felt that day, Drake says. Yeah, I spent most of my time with her when we were together. I might not have had the rings, but it was still like we were married, Issei says. And you left. It was like you were giving her divorce papers. She put on a brave face, but she was hurting. As I told you, she loved you for more than 12 years, and in 2 instances she was able to come back to you. But a third time, and this time, it was by your choice. You abandoned your mate, partner. I know you wanted to protect them, but you must understand that those decisions can hurt the ones you love, Drake says. Yeah, I know, and wait a minute. You said that she wanted me to hear it. Yes, why? As he opened up his eyes, only to find Irina cuddled up in her chair, seemingly asleep. She knew that he was awake. Of course, out of all the girls, Irina could read him like the back of her hand. The angel knows him too well. If they were to play poker, she would have known he was bluffing. There's nothing that he can do with a scoff of her scent, but he didn't know well, and he felt like he failed as a partner. With a heavy sigh, he got out of his bed and brushed his teeth, and the bathroom was attached to the room. Despite his victory hours ago, he felt dejected like a coward because he could not talk to her in person. He failed to hear the distinct click of a lock. He walked out and smelled something that he hadn't smelled in a long while. He could not help but chuckle as he turned around at some Tupperware, and inside it was a meal that he would only eat with one person. Chinese honey pepper beef with rice. She never forgot, Issei said. Wasn't that the meal that... Drake stopped. Yeah. Irina and I made this together. Wait a minute. As he opened up the Tupperware and noticed that steam was coming out of it, just as I thought. It was recently warm. But that means, as he looked over to the chair, he saw that Irina was no longer there, and his eyes widened. He was in shock a little, but then he looked towards the door, and it was locked, but Irina was not around. The area of the room was permeated in holy energy as well. Next thing he knew, he had a blade to his throat. Who are you? Irina says, making Issei chuckle. It's me, Issei, turning to see her smiling face. At least this time you didn't smack me with your hand, Issei said. A girl can learn a lot in 18 months, as she pulled her sword away. I was getting a bit fed up at the cat and mouse game, Irina says. How did you know I was awake? Your lips twitch when I kiss you. It could have been a reflex, Issei said. Issei, I've kissed you before when you were sleeping. I would know the difference. So any ideas? Issei replied. No, this is all you. I'm going to bed, but I will tell you this. You're going to need to reassure her that you are not running away again. And if you do, you better do it because she may hunt you down, Drake says. Like how Tiamat hunts you down, Issei said. Pray it doesn't come to that. Good night, Drake says, cutting off the communication. So you remember our dish, Issei says. Uh-huh. Ever since you left, I was always made twice a month, Irina says. That song. Is that how you were feeling? I thought we had an understanding about why I was leaving, Issei said. We did, but I couldn't bear it. Honestly, I wanted to call you immediately and tell you to take me with you. I was the last one to leave and when no one was around. I cried and cried because I didn't want to let you go, Irina says. You should have gone with me, but I fear for your safety, Michael's safety, in case the factions were asking for me, Issei said. Yeah. I know, but it doesn't mean that it didn't hurt, Irina says. Sometimes I wonder how many tests the Lord will put me in front of me. First time you were trying to strip me. My other situation. You know now that I would have let you, with a blush on her face. Second time around, you had more girls, giving me less opportunities when I got the chance. We were interrupted, but you restored my memory then, Issei said. I felt like an idiot. Forgetting how we met. Our promise to beat up Santa Claus. You restored that for me. Brought back a piece of myself. I neglected you, and that is on me, and I will cherish the time special in the room. I will also cherish our time together in an empty mansion. I also need to make it right with you. My time away for you has been hurting you emotionally. Yeah, you did, Irina says. I can't run from you anymore, Irina. These necromorphs, every time I face them, I could not help but wonder all about you. I needed to kill those things, hoping that you never face them. A guy like Arius is out there, so every time we're apart, I know you're not safe. So you're saying, is it possible to get you to move in with me, Issei says. You mean go back to Japan, Irina replied. Yes, Issei said. You do realize how complicated it is to transfer schools, right? Irina says. You didn't register for classes already, did you? Issei said, yes, I did, making Issei frown. At your university, Irina says. Huh? Issei replied. I wanted to surprise you that I would be transferring to your school already. You forgot that our parents are close, right? Once I overheard them talking about that on the phone, and I heard them saying that you were attending, so I applied and got in. I'm done being kept away from you. I've literally been training to show that I can have your back, like those other two. Invigold is nice, and Minerva is a bit too quirky. Kind of like Kuroka. You think so? Issei says. Yeah, she was trying to make a bet with me, but I declined. Smart move. Hey, Irina, Issei says. Irina replies. Could you come to bed, please? Irina got up from the chair, walked over to the side Issei was sitting, and sat down. Thank you for being here with me tonight, Issei says. You can thank Bachan for that. Bachan was here, Issei says? Yeah, she knows about the supernatural. The kids love her, hence why they are not with you. She gave me this opportunity, which Invigol didn't mind. Minerva pouted a bit, but then Issei just wanted to kiss her again, so he did what she was walking, and she reciprocated it rather fast. He then pulled away and looked her in the purple eyes. I've been waiting 18 months to do that, Issei says. You're not the only one, as she took the food from his lap. You better eat and get some rest. I'm sure you'll have a lot of visitors tomorrow, so they can wait. And besides, you locked the room. Yeah, but Sona, Momo, Rhea, and anyone from Sona's Barrage can unlock it if they have the keys, Irina says. Oh right, I forgot, Issei replied, as Irina brought a forkful to his mouth. Thank you. He ate quietly and let her feed him. He didn't want her to, but it was something that she wanted to do. He wasn't going to upset her any more than he already had, so she gave her the moment that she deserved. You know what I said still stands, right? Irina says. You mean about the childhood friends being more important than girlfriends? Well, I am more than a girlfriend, showing off her mark and left side of her neck. Then it's where you said you would go above and beyond anything that Rias did. Yes, however, it's not Rias at the top, Irina says. No, I think it would be you, according to the other girls, Issei says. Doesn't feel like it, Irina replies. I'm guessing it's because I had sexual encounters with the others and not you, huh? Somewhat, Irina says, with a heavy blush on her face. Can we not focus on them, please? I'm here with you, so let's focus on you. You're not using Hala Declare. Why is that, Issei says. I still do, but I enjoyed wielding the katana of Excalibur Mimic, as it reminded me of home. It reminded me of you, so I was gifted a holy katanas along with the other holy swords, but I declined that one. Why? Issei said. Well, it didn't feel right to accept it at the moment, which was the truth, because Michael had presented something of the wedding gift. I see. I also hear that you can use holy flames, Issei says. But I guess that was thanks to your mark, since some of your magic is within me. Yeah, Tanid said something like that. Can we make a pact to never use dress break again, Issei says. Fair enough, but I do understand the other implications that your move brings. Your perverted mind only considered using it against females, which it doesn't matter. No one would like to fight naked, whether it's male or female. It would bring them shame for being exposed like that, especially in front of so many people. Yeah, I'm still sorry for doing that to you, Issei says. You can make it up to me later. The lyrics that you sang, am I still in those plans? Issei says. Oh, that. Well, of course you are. I wouldn't have been here if you weren't, and I kissed you. If I had interest elsewhere, that wouldn't have been the case, Issei, Irina says. I like the other name better, Issei replies. You're going to have to work for that one again, Issei-kun, making him pout. But I like it. No one ever calls me darling, Issei says. You worry too much about that. And not the injuries that you sustained, she chuckled. It was then Issei realized that she was right, and he looked down to notice that his abdomen and torso were covered in bandages. It was the same with his left shoulder, and it had been dislocated, blocking the brunt force of Graham. He could have also see that his forearms were in bandages as well. It explains why my shoulder was feeling stiff, Issei says. You better get some rest. As she packed up the Tupperware and put it away and began to head back to her chair. Why are you going back there? Issei says. Huh? Irina replied. I'm pretty sure it would be better than in that chair, or at least it would for me. Wouldn't you want to make sure that I don't run away? Issei says. I don't think you can in your condition, Irina replied. You better make sure, and I think you can do with me in your arms, Issei says. Fine, Irina says. She sighed as she walked back to the bed. Issei pulled her on top of it, making her yelp a little bit, but she stared at herself. Much better, Issei says, making her frown, but she sighed. All right, she smiled. I owe you a little more than 12 years of cuddling, as she wrapped his arms around her. You don't have to hold me so tight, Irina says. You do realize that you and Zenobia have more in common than you think, when you both sleep, right? Is that why you held me when it was just us in the mansion, Irina says. I could tell the first time. You were under such emotional stress and you didn't move. When I crawled into your bed with you, after that, you felt comfortable and you went back to your habits, Issei said. And you didn't say anything, Irina replied. It would have been rude. Besides, I was already going to hurt you by leaving you. I was just glad that I could be in the same space with you like I am now, Issei says. I understand, Irina replied. Now go to sleep. As she made herself comfortable within his grip, good night, darling. Much better, Issei says, giving her a kiss, but this time going much deeper. The two continued their little makeout session for a few minutes, something that had to go out of their system from being months apart. Whoa, that was almost worth waiting those months, catching her breath. I forgot to tell you, but I love your haircut. You used to look beautiful. You always will to me. Thank you, Irina says. So I guess after this, you'll be coming back with me. me, right? Or are you spending the rest of your break with your parents? I think I'll spend Christmas with my parents and New Year's with you, Irina says. I see, Issei said, as he began plotting a plan. He was hoping to spend Christmas with her like he was able to last time, where she had confessed. The moment was precious to him, and he felt he could reunite then with her. However, the raiding game sped things up, which he did not mind, as any time with Irina was something he would savor. This would change things. At least he could surprise her. He would just have to relay his plans to his parents and Imogal and Minerva. He gave Irina a quick kiss and cuddled with her, as she did as well. But she was more careful since she was injured. They fell asleep in each other's arms as they did. Issei began to envision their past. He saw when they were young, from their sleepovers, two young kids who were separated by the supernatural and brought back together because of the supernatural world. Issei would give his thanks to Kokofil, who was rotting in the Katoyas, for stealing the Excalibur fragments, because if he hadn't, he would likely never see Irina again. In his mind, he saw the two kids age, but remain asleep until it reached his current moment. Two teenagers now in the hospital bed, and he didn't care who saw them. The next morning, the two were still asleep. As Rhea had gone in to check on Issei, she was surprised to find the door locked, and she couldn't help but wonder if Issei woke up and the two did the deed. However, upon investigating the doorknob, she saw it wasn't different from the other ones, and she knew that Irina needed that to have... She was a bit worried if Irina got carried away and they just had... She also wanted to give the two privacy if they did. Seeing that no one was around, she decided to peek in, and if the two she would lock the door up again. Upon entry, she was surprised to find the reunited couple awake, but cuddling, watching something on the tablet. Morning, Rhea, Issei says. Thank goodness, and good morning. I was worried about what I might find. It made Irina blush at what she was implying, but Issei was still dense. Which was, Issei said. Well, you two in bed, blushing, not knowing how to respond, Rhea was. She means she thought we might have had intercourse, Irina says, seeing Issei's genuine confusion. Oh, Issei said, blushing as he figured it out now. Yeah, well, I can see you disconnected the machines. We didn't like the beeping, Issei said. I could see that, as she began to reconnect the machines. So how are you feeling? I'm alright, a bit sore, but alright, Issei says. We had to pop your shuttle back into place, and Crumb-Crunch told us not to heal the wound that you received from Rhea Sanakano. Well, not all the way, Rhea says. I would have told you not to as well. Drake told me that I was out for at least a day. I haven't been out for that long since I went on my first base hunt that was swarm of necromorphs. Oh, Michael-sama would like to speak with you about that, Irina says, as does Ajuka-sama, Rhea says. I did mention something about giving what I know about the necromorphs. Am I just talking with Ajuka or all of them now, Issei says. It would just be with Ajuka-sama, Rhea said. And how will I know if he doesn't tell Trihexa? Thus my information is being given away for free, Issei says. I don't know, Rhea replies. I will inform Sona-sama about your concerns, and she can relay it to Ajuka-sama. By the way, both of your parents are in Kyoto. Well, I guess you knew that, Irina-sama. Yep, Irina replies. Your parents were here, Issei says? Yeah, your parents actually came to England from the Hyoko too. Then they brought your grandmother as well. We watched the press conference at our place, then Grishilda-sama brought us to the underworld for the raiding game. I had sat with Gasper, Tokusa, and Valerie in the leader's press box, while everyone else sat in the press box for Team DXD. Graphia's baby took a liking to Bachan, but it's where you get your charm from after all, drawing people towards you. Kasan lied to me. I feel hurt, Issei says as the negative aura overtook him. Sorry, darling. It surprised me too. I didn't even know that they would be there. It seems that our parents plotted against the both of us, Irina says. I see, Issei said, turning back to Rhea. Rhea, when can I go? Oh, give me about an hour so I can discharge you by then, Rhea says. Can I check on the others? How's Kiba? Issei said. He's fine. Considering that you did little to no damage to him, he did have slight burns from the meters that you said in the beginning. You really threw a monkey wrench in their plans, Rhea says. That's the point, Issei replied. I'm guessing this has to do with the move that you and Sanji worked on, correct? Rhea says. What move? Irina replies. So he did recognize it. Go figure. What was that anyways? My improved polylingual, but I'm not reading breasts. It's unsexual, so I'm listing on their souls. I call it Tashimada Yahuko, Issei says. Translation of the soul, that's quite impressive, Rhea says. You can teach it to me, Irina says. Huh? Rhea replies. Irina has part of my magic, hence her using dress break because she is my mate, as evident from the mark on her neck, Issei says. Why wasn't it there before, Rhea says, now seeing the mark. Because it only presents itself when the female's mate is close by. As you can see, have seen in Invigal's Ravels and Minerva's at that previous meeting, Drake says. So you two have not had magics? Well, with each other. I marked her a different way by applying magic into my teeth and biting her, which injected my magic into her, thus making her. The others I did the traditional way, thus they have my essence, but not magic like Irina does, Issei says. So Irina can learn the meteor move that you just did, Rhea says? I'm not sure, Issei said, since I marked her a couple days prior to leaving Ko. I didn't learn Rising Kaizen until later on. I see. Well, I should have known that they are calling you a new name, Rhea says. And what's that? The Inferno Soldier, Irina says. At first, they thought of calling you a warrior. Your warrior, but then they remembered what your last name means and saw that it did make sense. Since you kept fighting despite the obstacle in front of you, your father Baccha took pride in the Yodo name being shown in a new light. The other name they call you is Soldier Born from the Flames. Seeing as you walked out of the fires unaffected, another one is the Crimson Soldier, Rhea says. They also call you the Hunter lurking in the Hell's Inferno. Since no one was safe from you on that battlefield, Irina says. Yeah, it's either something with fire or the color red with a soldier or hunter attached to it. There are also another bunch that dub you as the Apex Predator, Rhea says. Apex Predator, Issei says. Sounds nice. But I'm not at the top of my game yet. They can call me that after I beat those bastards that side with Arius, and Arius himself. Plus, I would need to beat Volley and Great Red as well. Then I can take the title of Apex. Let me go to the paperwork for your discharge, Rhea says. Thanks. Oh, and Rhea, could you keep this between us, Issei says. What, your discharge? That and this, Issei said, pointing at him and Irina. Oh, I think I can do that, with a slight blush, Rhea said. Thanks. Oh, and is it okay for us to lunch again sometimes? Issei says. Huh? Are you sure? I mean, your press conferences caused quite a stir, and everyone knows what you are and what you look like now, Rhea says. I'm going to get ready, Irina replied. Getting out of the hospital bed, she gave a smile to Rhea as she went to the bathroom. I guess you're right. Could you get Ravel then, Issei says. Of course, Rhea replies. And Rhea, I am sure about having lunch with you again. It's comforting, like Miss Peaceful in the bathroom over there, using Irina's name meaning as a pun. I mean, if you want to, her blush deepened, but do you? Yes, Rhea said. Great, then you can let me know when you're free and we can work something out, Issei says. Okay, then, I'll get going. You can tell Irina-sama that I said bye as she left the room. Issei waved goodbye as she left the room. A few minutes later, Irina opened the door to the bathroom. She had a look of surprise on her face, and she noted that the other brunette was not in the room anymore. Her hair was styled up as well, indicating that she was actually getting ready to not listening in on the conversation. She knew how to give someone their privacy, so she didn't intervene. She left, Irina says. Yeah, but she would be getting a visit from Ravel at some point. That's nice. Aren't you going to see Rose-senpai? Would you accompany me? Issei says. Why would you ask that? Irina said. Because of your disconnect with Zenobia, who is Rose's knight. Oh, well, maybe some other time, Irina says. You really can't let it go, huh? Well, sorry to burst your bubble. You're going to be training with her, Issei says. What? Irina says. You need to work on the dragon aura that you possess. You from me and her from Fafnir. Then I can train with you and she can work with Tani, Irina says. I need to go hunt down bases, Irina. I won't have time to train you. I need to find Arius and stop him, Issei says. Why? I know that he is a bad guy in all this, but why does it need to be you to stop him? Why not Volley, or Cyro-Org, or Dulio? You're not the pillar anymore, Issei. You don't have to be the one to stop him. We can take bases out together, or... He took someone from me, Irina. Issei says. Who? I've seen Minerva, Invigol, your parents, Lilith, Kano, Yakuza, Ravel, Rasvices, Yukivera, Kiba, Gasper, Tokusa, Riser, and now he has all of his Parage back, thanks to you. Sona and all of her Parage as well. So who? As she choked a sob, and her hair shadowed her eyes. He took Ryoga from me, but also Kano too, Issei says. Ryoga? You mean the yokai captain? Yeah. So you're looking for revenge, is that it? Issei could see her fists clenching, and he knew that he could go two ways. She's either walking out of the room, or she'll stay a little longer. He already knows that she felt it the first time he died. It was why she became a little more bold in her advances. So he got out of bed and walked towards her. But before he could reach her, she spoke again. Answer the question, Issei. What would you do if I said yes? Issei said. I don't know, Irina replied. Come here. Issei said. Lucky for him, she came into his arms and hugged him tightly, and he grabbed her back. It might be a little revenge, but I can turn a blind eye to what he's doing. I couldn't. If he turned you or anyone else that I cared about into one of those things, I know that Ryoga turned into one of a semblance of him. But what if I see a necromorph with the fading essence of a drow like pigtails, a turquoise eye, or purple hair, or be able to use teleportation magic or even an angel's wings. I can't go through that. Even now, I worry for your parents because he already got Ryoga and their base was near Yakuza's area, which I know she's displeased about, even if she doesn't show it. Doesn't mean you need to be the hero. I already had to deal with your death once. I'm not going through that a second time, Irina says. I know, Issei says, kissing her on the forehead. He remained holding her, partly because she didn't let go of him, and partly because he still feared that she may run out on him. In her eyes, she's thinking that he will go be a hero, and she's right. He was supposed to reassure her that he wasn't going to leave, and he's practically telling her that he will, again for different reasons. Out of all the girls, Irina had the most right to be selfish, but she couldn't because of her status as an angel. She had the most to lose because everyone had already lost him once for dying to Samael's poison. A few lost him twice because he left Ko, but Irina just kept losing him. First it was when they were children, then after Kokaville incident, when they didn't know if Issei didn't know if they'd ever see each other again. After that, it was the Loki incident in the underworld, where she was there on the angel's side, but by heaven's grace, they transferred her to Ko. She lost him in the Samael incident in leaving Ko, so essentially Irina had lost him a total of 5 times. A number 6 was definitely not something she wanted in her future at all. Even if she got luck of being able to regain him, it still put some emotional strain on her. They remained holding each other for who knows how long. I didn't stop when Ravel stormed into the room. Issei-sama, oh, Ravel said, seeing the two. Hey, Ravel-chan, good to see you out of bed. What happened? Ravel said, what do you mean? Irina-sama is not her usual cheerful self. She's rather solemn, so it makes me wonder what happened between you two, Ravel said. Well, she didn't like the idea of training with Zenobia, but I told her that I wouldn't have time to train her because I'd be looking for areas to stop him. She didn't like it, and I feared that she would leave the room, but I'm lucky enough that she came to me. She doesn't want me playing the hero, or at least not anymore. It's not like when we were kids, not all of you guys. She has lost me the most. She has that fear that one of these days we may not find our way back to each other, and she's right. I could be going on revenge tour and not be ready for Arias and get my ass kicked. I could possibly lose one of you guys, like Riser nearly lost a few of his pieces. Issei says, I see, and that's good you can see your trauma, Issei-sama. I know that some time ago we couldn't see your trauma with your first girlfriend, Rebel said. There was some good in her, or at least when I was envisioning. It's how I could make those fire spears interesting, but what are you going to do now? Ravel said, heal with my angel. Drake told me that I need to reassure her that I wouldn't leave again, but going off and find Arias is essentially me leaving again. Issei says, yeah, it is. She called out to the angel, who remained quiet. Irina-sama? Irina says, I'm sorry that Issei-sama can be a bit of a blockhead. Ravel said, oi! Issei said, it's fine, Ravel-chan. He's my blockhead. I've already come to terms on his decision. Irina says, Issei/Ravel at the same time. You have? Yes, so I will have to keep training because if he dies, I die. Irina says, Irina. Issei says, no, don't tell me to go off and be happy with someone else. I had that choice and made it, and it was still you. So deal with it, pulling herself from him to look him in the eye. Seeing the look of defiance in her eyes, Issei knew that he made the right choice falling for her. Since he wasn't an angel, he could be selfish. He didn't want her with someone else. He always wanted her with him. He only made a bad choice of continuing to give in to Rias, to give Irina the attention that she deserved. Alright, Ravel-chan, could you give us a few moments? Issei said, don't you mean us? Ravel says, no, I mean me. I need to change and I don't feel like doing it in the bathroom. Meh, nothing I haven't seen before, Ravel says. Same here, Irina says. It made Issei blush as he realized that he had been nagging with both of them, so it wouldn't have mattered. I know, but wouldn't you like can I get the room to myself, please? Issei says, alright, come on, Irina. She turned to leave. Irina was giving Issei a longing look, wondering what was going through his head. Issei figured that she was thinking that he may be looking for a way to run away again, this time with no contact. She was thinking he would go off to try and be a hero again. He gave a slight shake of his head to let her know that he was not running anywhere and that he would still be there. After a few moments, she gave a nod and left the room. You nearly screwed that up, Drake says. I know, Issei replied. You better show her how much you mean to her on this Christmas plan, Drake says. Yeah, I'll get the tickets for Lilith-chan and I fly out to Christmas night. We'll spend the day in Kyoto on Christmas. I'll let my parents know, Issei says. I think you're confusing teleporting for plane rides. If you leave on Christmas night, you'll get there well after Christmas. You would be flying into a new country. It's best you speak with their parents or an angel. Griselda, for the seal of the Shiodo residence, Drake says. Huh, yeah, good idea. It's why you two heads are better than one. You have more common sense than I do, Issei says. I know. Now, how long do you think she has been watching? Drake says. Don't spook her. Rhea is a nice girl, but likely when I was putting on my pants, Issei says. The blood dripping from her nose shows that she sees what she likes. After all, you used to do the same thing, Drake says. I try not to, but you know how Minerva can be. No, I understand. It's hard for a dragon to resist their mate, especially when they are in the mood, Drake says. Don't I know it, Issei replies as a communication circle appears on his ear. Ravel says you're up, Sekivara says. Welcome to the world of the living again. Yeah, I am. Do me a favor and message Ravel that you'll be taking us to you. Do it discreetly. Irina is with her, Issei says. Ooh, she's not going to like that, Sekivara replied. I'll let Raivasa know and send Zenobia out. By the way, she says thank you. Frankly, I think a lot more won't be thanking you for what you did to Lunar. Kind of funny, isn't it? A year ago they were complaining about you and your dress break and paralingual moves, and now they're thanking you for dealing with their womanizer. You were a pervert, but not a womanizer, Sekivara says. Well, gotta go. See you soon, Issei replies. Alright, Sekivara replied, as the circle disconnected. So am I good, Issei says, turning to Rhea, who was still staring. Yo, Rhea, huh? Oh, right, discharge papers. Everything is still there for your caretaker to handle changing your bandages. We did transfer you over to copy to Yakuza-sama, which we believe is where you are staying for the duration, Rhea says. Thanks. I'm sure she will hand it off to Amigold and Minerva, as well as took the papers from her, Issei says. You're all set, Rhea replies. Awesome. Giving her a hug. Please don't forget to contact me when you're available, okay? Issei says. I will. Oh, wait. You forgot something, Rhea said. Oh, yeah. As he turned around to get her in his bag and her tablet. Thanks for looking out for us, Issei says. No problem, Rhea says. As they exited the room, he found that Ravel and Irina were not there. Considering you entered the room, I'm assuming they weren't out there, Issei says. No one was here. Huh? I wonder where they had to go, Issei says. I'll walk you to the entrance, Rhea replied. Fine by me, Issei says. They began heading towards there. Thankfully, it was still morning, so not many people were out. And about in the hospital, some would like to take pictures with him, but he just waved and shook his head. He would give quick hugs, though, as they continued on his way. Well, look who's up. Congratulations, by the way, Momo says. Thanks. Giving her a hug, doing it softly as not to hurt his torso. Hey, have you seen Ravel and Irina? No, I thought they were with you, Momo says. Well, yes, but I sent them out of the room so I could change. Rhea came in with my discharge papers, but they said they weren't in front of the room. Weird, Momo says. I'll look for them, Rhea replies. Can you stay here with him? I don't need a babysitter, Issei says, only making Momo laugh, and Rhea smiled. I'll be right back, Rhea says, which Issei sighed and walked off. So, Momo says. So what? Issei replied, looking across the lobbies. Come on. You can't say you're not excited for the showing that you put out. You came to play, Issei. With how you methodically attacked your opponent, you definitely showed why you earned that promotion, Momo says. Thanks, Issei replied. You're not smiling. What's up? Well, I kind of heard Irina again. How so? Momo says, well, she knows that I want to go after Arius. A bit it would be revenge for Yoga, my mentor, that he made into an abomination. She told me that I was running off to play hero again. Frankly, I understand why she's saying that. But you know she has nearly lost me 5 times? That is more times than any girl that I've been with, Issei says. Ouch, really, Momo says? Issei, first time was when we separated as children, due to the incident involving Claire Biel. Then Cocaville incident, she had to leave after that, Issei says. But you saw her after the incident with Loki, right? Momo says. Then we had to leave, she transferred over, thanks to the Alliance. Number 4? When I died at Samil's appointment and the 5th was me leaving Ko. I could handle that better. Drake told me that it may have been the right decision, but sometimes the decisions hurt the ones we love. Issei says, damn, that's true, Momo replied. She's also right, Issei said. I don't want to lose what's important to me and go on a revenge tour that could cost me. I guess you're right. I wouldn't know how I feel if I lost Ginkun. It wouldn't fathom the amount of times that Irene has lost you, Momo says. I'm assuming he's at school, right? Yeah, you know how Sona can be, Momo says. Yeah, she is a heartless, but a caring one, Issei says. Just then, Rhea came back with Irina and Ravel. Found them, Rhea says. Where did you girls go? Issei replied. To look at your victims, Ravel says. Oh, and your verdict? You messed a good portion of them up. Yeah, we didn't need to bother to go near some of the rooms. We did visit Azia. She was there with Akia. What'd you say to her? Issei says. Ask her how she was. Well, Ravel did. I just stood there and listened, Irina said. I see. Well, we better get going. Thanks for me keeping in your care, Issei said. You're welcome, Ray replied. We'll keep you posted on everything that happens on our end, Momo said. Thanks, Issei replied, as he gave a nod to Ravel. She created a magic circle while Issei put his arm around Irina's waist to keep her in her place. She looked confused, but he smiled at her and told her that he wasn't going anywhere. The three walked through the magic circle and disappeared, while Momo and Rhea waved goodbye to them. It's only a matter of time, Momo says, before he or you ask the other out. Well, I need to determine my schedule for him, and we're going out for lunch. What? Already? Momo said. He asked. Damn, girl. Well, you better check the schedule then. I will, Ray replies. Now we are at Sikivera's mansion. Ravel, Issei, and Irina appeared in front of the mansion. While Irina looked a little confused as she looked to the sky, she could see that she was still in the underworld. Where are we? Irina says. Sikivera's place, Issei replied. What? Issei, As she began to struggle in his grip, making him wince immensely and making her stop. I'm sorry, Issei, but please let me go. No, I'm not running from you, and you're not going to run from me. We're in this together, so we are going together. Leaning his face towards her. And I said that I didn't want to be here, Irina says, leaning her face towards him, both of them staring at intently each other. Ahem? Ravel said. She coughed to gain their attention. You can relax, Irina-sama. She's not here. What? Irina replied. She's right. Irina, Rosvice, and Zenobia are not here, so you don't have to worry. Come on in. Olivian has a tea party. As she turns around to the mansion, Issei and Irina remained to join at the follow. What are they even saying? Joined at the hip as they followed Ravel into the mansion. You can let go, Irina said. She whispered to Issei. No, Issei replied, never turning towards her and keeping his eyes ahead. She was essentially trapped as Issei was not going to let her. But then again, she was the one that said she didn't want him to go away. So now he was going to keep close to her. She just feared that he wanted to show up, and she knew that Issei would not let her escape, and if she did, he was likely to track her down one way or another. Sikivera led them to the lounge that couches Latia was sitting on one of them. The soldiers graced us with his presence. How are you feeling? Latia says. Fine, Issei replied. Welcome, Issei, Olivian says. Thank you, Olivian, as the Agaris queen nodded. Have a seat, Sikivera says, as she went to sit down next to her cousin. Issei, Ravel, and Irina sat down and Of course, Irina had given up on trying to get Issei to let go of her. She relaxed in his comfort and she wrapped her arm around his waist. The closeness was noted by the others in the room, but they ignored it. I thought you would see my uncle, Latia says. I will, in time. Actually, since you're here, you can be the middleman between him and I, so I know that I'll have my assurance that the information that I give is not given out for free, Issei says. That is understandable, Sikivera says. I know Azazel is looking to pay you for Akano's wing. Oh, Issei replied. She needs to heal. The only ones that came out okay were Azia, Kiba, Akia, Mariyama, and Kadase. We figured. We want to see Azia. Irina summoned to whether the third time's the charm, Ravel says. Third time, Latia says? Yes. She chose Isekan, but let him go to be seduced by that Lunar, which I explained how he tried to hit on me before. In addition to his attempted against Zenobia, Issei felt Irina stiffen at that, so he was told the next person she chooses would be the one for her. Akia didn't really care. I thought they were lovers, Sikivera says. They were, but Akia said she enjoyed their bedroom activities and could see that they were the only place where he was affectionate and agreed that it was time to move on. I believe this will help Azia move forward, as she took a cup of tea to drink. Well, he is going to be in sensitive care along with Devlin for a while. You left him in a mess, Sikivera says. Not only him, but the others as well, Latia says as she took a cup of her tea. Well, I did what I needed to do, Issei said as he gave a cup to Irina before reaching a cup of his own. Thank you, Irina says, accepting the tea. So what do you plan to do now? Sikivera says. Heal, train, dine, fight, graduate, work, marry, and retire. Of course, not in all that order, making the others chuckle a little bit. I was referring to the war, Issei, Sikivera says. What do you mean? Issei replied. You're not on the side of your factions. You're your own entity in this matter. What do you plan to do? Well, I know that I will aim to keep the people that I care about safe, so I'll fight my fight, Issei says. He was remaining ambiguous, while Irina was feeling a little guilty as he knew that answering this way because of her statement earlier. I see, Sikivera says. She did spare a brief glance at Irina, who looked down at her tea while Issei was answering. Well, I'll be in touch when my uncle provides the assurance that you are looking for. Thank you, Issei says, drinking his tea. It was good seeing you, Issei. We'll keep in touch if you ever feel that you need to go base hunting, Sikivera says. Will do, Issei said. As he finished his tea, thank you for letting us come visit. That's what friends do. Ravel-shan, could you take us to Kyoto? I feel like I'm your taxi, Ravel says. You're much more than that, kissing her on the cheek, but But could you? Yes, I can, Ravel says. We'll see you later, Seek-san, Latias-san. No need for horrifics, my dear Issei, Latias says. Duly noted. Again, thank you for having us, Issei said. Our pleasure, giving her friend a hug along with her cousin. See you ladies, Sekigahara-sama, Ravel said, as she created a magic circle. You as well, Ravel-chan. Take care, Irina-san, Sekigahara says. Oh, right. Giving a small nod, Irina did. Olivian also sent his regards to the trio as they left to Kyoto. I wonder what happened between those two, Sekigahara says. You mean the angel and my dragon? Ha! You can't exactly call him yours if you have let to go out with them, and unlike those two, you don't have his mark. Way to ruin the mood, Latias says. I'm just stating the facts, Sekigahara says, which Olivian also chuckled at the king's joke, which Lativia grumbled, crossing her arms in her chest in annoyance. Now we're at the Sea Tree Hospital. On the other side of the hospital from where Issei had been, laid Rias Gremory in bed, pondering about what to do. She was lucky that that blow to her head from Issei didn't give her a concussion. She had heard what Issei had done to Devlin, and she didn't blame him. They used the Phoenix Tears to attach Devlin's legs and arms back, but it would be a while before he could feel normal again. The door to her hospital room opened up and her parents walked in, but not only them, her grandmother came along, their ancestor, Rias Gremory. Hello, Okasama, Otosama, Obosama, Ryo-sama, Ria said. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling? I'm okay. Just wondering about what? Your lover? You remember my rule, right? She sneered. I'm well aware, but that's not what I was wondering about, Ria says. Good, because how could you be so bright then lose the Red Dragon Emperor? Not only that, he beat you without the Red Dragon, Ria says. I know, Rias replied. I don't understand. You had him wrapped around your finger. He would have done anything for you, and you left him for that cripple? Why? Rias says. I don't know, Ria says. Oh, yes, you do. You forgot about his love, and you only saw one aspect of him, his perversion. But from the stories I hear, you're the one that instigated his perversion. Did he ask you to sleep naked with him? Ria says. No, But you did it anyways. You never considered his love for you, but then again, did you really ever consider Devlin's love for you? Rinia says. Runia-sama, Zectodius says. Zectodius, let her speak. Claire says. What do you mean, Runia-sama? I'm pretty sure it was said already, but why didn't Devlin consider saving you from your engagement to Riser? I'm not going to lie. You were extremely lucky that he reached out to summon you. Upon his first death, he would have died for you. Actually, he did, and yet Devlin didn't make a move for you once, didn't even comfort you. Think about it. He just wanted fame to let others know he took the woman that the Red Dragon loved. Then he had the audacity to claim that he would be a better carrier. Everyone believes that except the dragon himself. Now, why is that? Ronia says. Issei was never about power, and if he was, it wasn't for himself. It would be for others, Rias says. If it's Devlin like that, Rias says. No, Rias replies. After seeing how he forcefully took Graham from Kiba and was aiming to be the new Red Dragon Emperor with that raiding game. Exactly. And unfortunately, the Red Dragon wants nothing to do with the Gremory clan anymore, so your engagement with him is annulled, Rias says. So I won't be marrying him, I see, Ria says. No, he wanted his freedom from you, remember? Well, now he has earned it, Ria says. We don't have to worry about this Urias figure. The demons do not have his help. Only the Greek, yokai, and angels do. Some clans in the underworld do, but only a few. You know that your brother will not use them to get young Issei on our side, Zectodius says. That's right, Valena says, and if he were here, it would only provoke Issei's wrath. We witnessed what he could do without the Red Dragon. Imagine what he could do with Drake, Valena says. That's understandable, Rias replied. This is also yours, Zectodius says, as he placed a knight piece next to her. Ajuka handled the transfer while you were out, so Lunara is no longer in your barrage. Azazel and Shemazi are looking to contact Issei on a price to pay for Akano's wing that he took as his trophy. Barkul is pissed, but he understands the repercussions if he were to attack Issei. What would happen, Ria says? He would be exiled, and if Issei wanted to, he may kill Barkul without consequence. The fallen angels would not take revenge. I see. Can we help negotiate as well, Ria says. She is my queen, and I would like to help. It's my fault that she's in this situation, or rather, all of us. Issei was right. How could you say that I love him and hold feelings for another? I knew about Devlin, but never said anything to Issei, and he only remembered Irina when she first came around, so it's not the same thing. My selfishness kept apart and also brought them back together. It's good that you are learning this, Valena says. Indeed, but what do you plan to do about Devlin, Zectodius says. Yes, now that your engagement is annulled, but what do you plan to do, Ria says. I don't know, but I fear he may look to showcase himself to make himself feel better, rather than focus on our relationship. I hope it's the latter, Ria says. Don't we all? Well, I will talk with your brother about assisting with negotiations with Issei. After all, dragons like their treasures, as he left the room. Bro, I want to stop real quick. Why does Barkill think he can do anything? I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. Anyway, yes, that is true, Valena says, as she let out a sigh. How unfortunate. I spent all that time with him. Well, I'm sure he's put those skills to good use. How are his parents, Ria says? They are doing quite well. We did commend them that you learned a little something from them. Yes, Miki-san did elevate my cooking skills, not just my Asia's, but Akano's as well. That blondie is certainly traumatized after seeing her boyfriend's body, Ruse says. What did Issei do to him? A lot worse than what he did to Devlin, Valena says. Issei cut off all of Lunar's limbs, left a couple of slashes all over his torso. I'm certain that blood that you saw on Issei was likely Lunar's. It was a bloody mess. Well, we know that boy certainly keeps his promises, Renus says. Yes, he does. I wish I'd been able to meet him after he saved you from Riser, but when I had shown up, you had already left, Crisis says. He's a good boy. I'm glad that I did not ruin him completely by my own negligence, Ria says, as a knock was heard. Come in, Valena says. As the door opened, Rias was shocked to see who came in. Rosvisa Zenobia. What are you doing here? Rias says. Well, we came to check up on you, or rather, Sigivera sent us away. Issei went to see her, and he was bringing Irina with him. Oh, I see, Ria says, as she understood the sad look in Zenobia's eyes. The girl could not thank Issei for ending her nightmare on the grand stage because of her fractured friendship with the childhood love. So how are you feeling, Rosvisa says. I'll be alright, sore but alright. Rosvisa, if I may ask, did you teach Issei how to make those seals, Valena says. Oh, just great, Runa says, a potential piece that we lost. Rui-sama, Crisis says, what? I just speak the truth, but tell us, Valkyrie, did you? I did not teach him directly, but I did give him the constructs of making seals. I believe it was Minerva, the black-haired woman that would helped him. You have been in contact with him during his disappearance, Renus says. Yes, he would let us know what he was doing, but I did not contact him until I after traded to Sikivera's Parage, Rosvisa says. Smart. The way it could not be forced out of you by Rias, but it was likely that she would have succumbed to Devlin if he demanded it, Rias says. I'm surprised you didn't demand it from Kiba or Gasper, Rosvisa says. I didn't think of that, Rias replies. That's understandable. Not many people realize that Issa and Kiba are best friends. They're too busy looking at his connection to the girls of your Parage, but never the men. That is true. I know Aki had to stop printing the manga novel of Kiba and Issei because Issei had left, Rias says. She had got the idea, Zenobia replied, when she caught Issei and Kiba singing a duet together. I wonder how well Issei can sing now, Rosvisa says. You should ask him to do that for you. I know he has given lessons. He came here rather the second time he came here. It's how they had him sing the Opie Dragon song, Valena says. So that explains it, Zenobia replied as she pondered to herself. Explains what? Well, after we came here for our training, Issei wasn't that vocal about his perversions. I knew he would still make lewd expressions, but wasn't as vocal, Zenobia says. Well, I did have him go through the same training that I had Yute go through. It was to make him more of a better partner for Rias. I guess it wasn't enough, Elena says, shrugging her shoulders. It was enough, Kasan. I just wasn't smart enough to see it, Rias says. Yes, Rosvisa says, as a communication appeared by her ear. He's gone. You can come home, Sikivera says. All right, Rosvisa says, disconnecting the call. That was Sikivera. She said Issei left. Did she say where? I would like to thank him for not killing anyone. He had the right to, Valena says. No, she didn't. I'm sorry, Rosvisa says. When you see him, could you ask for his price for Akano's wing? I'll try, Rosvisa says. Thank you. And Zenobia? Yes, Zenobia replied. I hope one day Irina is able to forgive you, and you may be able to forgive me one day. I failed you as a king. I threw you from your shelter when you were innocent, and I am glad that you were able to grow under Sikivera's care. I don't think I would have been able to help you reach these heights, but I'm glad you were able to. Thank you. In time, I know I can forgive you, because Issei has forgiven me. I hope he and I can be friends again, and that I can be friends again with my sister in arms, Zenobia says. I believe that I can forgive you because you seem to have learned your lessons, and congratulations on scarring Issei as well, Rasvaisa says. Not many people can do that. According to Cromcrunch, dragons bear their scars with pride, so that damage you and Akano did, he will wear it with honor. He may seek to fight against you again, since he has seen you as a worthy opponent. Well, I hope to get my rematch, but first I need to heal up, Rias said, giving her first smile of the day. I'm sure he's doing the same, Rasvaisa says. I will speak with Shikibara about the plans doing with the meeting with the Juka. I know that he will be paid for the information that he knows about the necromorphs. That is understandable. Please let us know, Rias says. I'd like to do something right for once. I put us in this mess, so if when he reveals his price, I'll do my best to contribute to the payment. Very well, Rasvaisa says, giving a smile. She was seeing the pre-Devlin Rias, the one that was about her Parage members. She had also seen this Rias in the raiding game. She was sure that Issei did as well. Otherwise, she had the feeling that he tortured by her beating up her remaining pieces in front of her. Rasvaisa could say that Rias was lucky that Rias had a heart and simply took Rias out, letting Azia and Murayama get away with very minimal damage, along with Kiba. She was sure that those three got to witness what Issei did to Devlin, so they would know what could have been their fate if Issei wanted it to be. With the nod of the Grand-Marie Marstrux and founder, Rasvaisa and Zenobia left the room. They gave their Rias their wishes for a speedy recovery. Zenobia gave a prayer, and she was surprised that she could pray. Rias knew that making Zenobia follow her, she tore many bridges, but she was glad that Issei gave her redemption, and hoped Irina would follow in Issei's footsteps and forgive her for the former battle or partner as well. She had a feeling Zenobia could become whole again, and if reincarnated to an angel, forgave her. Now back to Kyoto. Ravel, Issei, and Irina arrived in a secluded area where the two could walk the Yakuza's palace from. It would not be disturbed any of the other citizens that were doing their daily activities. However, upon arrival, Ravel instantly turned the two figure to what's going on. So is either one of you going to say something? Ravel said. Say what? Don't insult my intelligence, Issei-sama. You may act lovey-dovey with arms wrapped around each other, but there's tension between you two, Ravel says. There's no tension between us, Ravel-chan, Issei says. Oh yeah? Then why didn't you give a concrete answer to Shikibara's question about what you plan to do with the war that's coming? I did. I said I would heal, then train, then... That's not specific, Issei-sama. You could at least say something, Irina-sama, Ravel said. Irina only looked down in guilt, but she felt Issei squeeze her hip not to know that he was there. She calmly removed his hand from her hip, and she gave a smile to Ravel. Thank you for bringing us, Ravel-chan. We'll see you later. As she began to turn around and walk away. Okay, what the f is going on? Ravel says. I don't know, Issei said. No, you do know. Don't give me that. You two need to reconnect again. Like, what happened? Ravel said. Well, she sang a song last night about how I left. In the lyrics, it was said that she was making plans and I might not be in it. Of course, we made up and thought things were good, but then when I talked about going after Urias, she kind of broke down. She mentioned that. Is that why you were holding her? Ravel says. Yeah, I was reassuring that I wouldn't be leaving her, so I'm doing that, Issei says. So that explains why your answer to Shikibara-sama, you didn't want to upset Irina-sama any more than you did, Ravel says. Correct. I'm giving her the reassurance that I'm staying. She even surprised me that she is transferring to my school, so she will be leaving with me. I know she fears for my life, and I know this revenge tour would have put her in more worry on her. I can't keep going playing hero, and she is right, because I am not a hero. Ravel, I'm a soldier, so I need to fight. I have to fight. To protect you, to protect her, to protect Minerva, Invigold, Rose, Seek-san, my parents, her parents, your parents, my grandmother, Yakuza Kano, Lilith, Orphis, and the list continues on and on. Ravel had to take a step back as he pushed forward. She gave a gasp, but she saw that his eyes watered as he spoke. She could understand why he did what he did. He also had the fear that if he did nothing, then his loved ones would get hurt. It was like that with the Trihexa, an event that also impacted the human world as well as the supernatural world, which explains why you were putting her concerns first and why you talked about her losing you. Yeah, Issei said, slumping his shoulders. But she said that she had come to terms with their decision. She does, I know it. But she didn't expect my decision to be what she wanted. You two definitely need to be reconnected, to be in sync. You're out of flux, Ravel says. So what do I do? If I go, she'll be upset, and if I stay, she'll be upset, Issei says. You need to level with her. She accepted that you were going to go after Urias, but you're afraid to lose her, so you backed down. Now she is feeling guilty because her selfishness is what made you change your mind, which is understandable. You literally told the world that she was your number one. You said that she's going to be living with you soon, correct? Yeah, Issei says. Maybe you should have asked Michael to remove her from Team DxD. She'll be with you. She can't do Team DxD missions and then worry about you. But when you both go on missions, seriously, take her out on a date. Maybe give her some love like you did with me. And then blushing heavily at the first time with Issei, which was a foursome between her, him, Imigo, and Minerva. Really? Irina's not the kind of girl, Issei says. You banged me on our first night, Ravel said. She deadpanned. Yeah, and did oral with Ross Weissa on our first time together. Couldn't go all the way because of my injury from Cromcrotch, Issei said. So I don't see why not, but then again, you had a chance to do so in the hospital bed. Let me just talk to her. If not, then I guess we have to break up, Issei says. Do you really want to do that? Be honest with yourself. Could you envision your life without Irina-sama, Revel said. No, Issei said, answering with no hesitation. Even when I had Rias, it would still be a no. She's precious to me, my treasure, a woman who has loved me for me. I don't want to lose that. Then get the notion of a breakup out of your head. If I know Irina-sama, trust me when I say this, you'll make it worse. If those two words come out of your mouth regarding your relationship. You always know what to say, Issei says. I'm not just your advisor, I'm your mate, too. Pulling him for a deep kiss. Now, go be a soldier and fight for your girl. Will do, giving her a mock salute. As he turned around, she smacked him on the butt, which surprised him as Minerva did that. Looking back at her, he had seen the smirk on her face. She gave him a wink and disappeared in a magic circle. That same look was on Minerva gave him. So he's sure that Ravel learned something from her in that foursome. Having a little fear of Minerva, has told, Issei felt a slight shiver go down his spine. Quit the dilly-dallying and go to your woman, Drake says. Right, sorry, Issei said. Considering that he also had Irina's back and tablet, there wasn't going to be much when she got to the palace. He caught on to her energy, so she knew that she would be very close to the palace, so he headed after her. Similar to the hospital, people greeted him and wanted pictures, but he had to decline them. He had to let them know that there would be time for pictures later, as he would be in Kyoto for some time. He breathed a sigh as he sensed Irina entered the castle as well. He gave a silent prayer that would stay there, so he could talk to her and show her that she doesn't need to be guilty. He continued making his way to the palace and smiling at people. They continued to congratulate him for his victory, which he thanked them. As he got near, he could sense energies of Minerva, Imigold, Orpheus, Lilith, Yakuza, surprisingly, Sir Zex, Graphia, Milikis, Iria, along with his parents, grandmother, and Irina's parents. He could tell that Irina's injury was off to the side, so he knew that she hadn't left for anywhere else. The guards gave him a smile as they let him in, since they knew him and gave them their congrats as well. He nodded, but needed to speak with Irina like Ravel and said, however, it would be rude not to greet his family and guests that arrived, so he headed towards the living room area. He did look in the direction of Iria, which located, just hoped she remained in one spot. Of course, his energy was also felt by others, so upon entering the room, she had stopped 3 bundles for the first time crashing into him. Kano, Lilith, Milikis, say at the same time, Oni-sama, chan, ni Issei ni. Don't, Issei says, holding his hand out before lifting his shirt to show the bandages. Your big brother is not tough as he thought. It was a little joke to his energies, at which Kano and Milikis chuckled as he crouched down to hug them all and ruffle their hairs. Welcome back, Minerva says, strolling up to give him a kiss, only stopping when Lilith tugged her leg. Minerva huffed in annoyance, but complied with Lilith's wishes, since they somewhat had an understanding of each other. It's good to see you up, but what did you do? Yakuza says, huh? Irina came in earlier. She seemed down about something. She didn't want to talk to anyone. Oh no. What did you do, Issei? What makes you think that I did anything? Issei said, talking to his mom, making all the women frown at him. Boy, don't act like it wasn't your fault, the grandmother says. It wasn't. Well, yes, but it was both our fault, Issei says. Of course, some of the women found that hard to believe. Horato says. That could be the case. You two had the tendency to butt heads because of your competitiveness. But that's when you were kids. Those arguments ended quickly, Mizuku says. She's right. They only lasted minutes, Toji says. Well, the other one has been hours, and I will end it. I need to, Issei says. Then why are you still here, Graphia replied. Well, may I see my niece first? Because if I leave, I don't think I'll be leaving her side for the remainder of the night, unless we're done making each other's grasp. Issei says. Done? Miki says. As in break up, Mizuku replied. You know that's not possible, Issei. She has your mark, Orpheus says, making her presence known. Is there a way to extract it? Issei replies. Well, you have not made it. You would have to extract your magic from her. I guess that is easy enough. Not quite. Your magic has been in her body for 18 months. It has assimilated her for now. Even if you extract her angel status, your magic will be part of her. Irina did say if I died, she would die as well. This is how integrated I am to her, Issei says. She's effectively your mate for life. Without the need for you, the two What? For you two to mate with each other. So what you're saying is that Issei and Irina have been basically married for 18 months or so? Yes, Orpheus says. Oh, and you didn't ask for her hand in marriage? Toji said, slumping his head in a chair. Hey, it'll get to that. Jeez, Issei says. Well, I'm sure you can make it up to us, Mizuki replied. Yakuza told us you had something to show us, Miki says. Kano, what is he talking about? Issei replied. I cannot say, Onisama, otherwise I get in trouble, shaking her head. Do you know if the Lichas, Does Lilith know what? Lilith says. The problem with Lilith is that Issei could not decipher if she was genuinely confused, not because of her range of emotions. I take it you don't know what they're talking about, huh? Issei says, turning to Milikis. I'm just as confused as you are, Milikis says. Issei sighed. While changing the subject, you have been relatively quiet, Sir Zex. I don't want to ruin your mood, Sir Zex says, holding a hand up to surrender. That's it, Issei says. Yes, although Ajuka would like to speak with you, Sir Zex says. I've heard. Latia will let me know. If I'm assured that the information I will give out won't be for free, Issei says. That is good to hear. Do you have an asking price? Keep in mind, you are promoted, so asking for pieces is invalid, as you will already be getting that, Sir Zex says. I see. Maybe Minerva or Imiko will negotiate with you. I have more important matter to attend to. I don't know what that was. By the way, how's your sister? Issei said. Oh, well, she's fine. Just resting. According to my parents, they do want to know the price of Akano's wings. Rzek says. Here, Issei said, summoning the wing that he took from the battle. What do you want for it? I'll have to speak with Azazel on that, but I would like some armor for the girls and Minerva to have access to their technology. Making the witch smirk. I suggest you hold on to the wing, until I can get confirmation for that price, Srzek says. Very well, but give this back to Kiba, as he summoned Graham and took the wing back. It's rightfully yours. You shouldn't give a price for it, Srzek says. Kiba's a friend. It was forcefully taken from him. It's being handed back to its rightful owner. It would only be mine if I beat him in battle, and I did not do that. I understand, Srzek says, as he stored the demonic sword in his own personal storage seal. Please let us know if there's anything else that you would like. We owe you so much, Issei, Srzek says. I'll keep that in mind, but first, dashing to Erika, who cooed up at her uncle, that's my little niece. Did you see Uncle kick butt? Erika giggled in happiness. Just so you know, I am expecting one of those from you before I croak, Kurato says. Meh, I got time, Issei says. Idiot. How old do you think I am? Haruto says. Sorry, Bachan, Issei replied. Anyways, congratulations on your fight. You really handled that team, Haruto says. It was like you knew what they would do, Grafia says, because I did. That's my upgraded version of bilingual, but I'm not reading you know what. I'm reading the person's soul. That is quite a technique. You could able to counter any enemy, Srzek says. Not quite. Since the Necromorphs have no soul, I cannot use it to detect them, but it has been helped with Renegade Chaos Brigade bases. Considering that your bilingual forced women to bare their breasts to tell you their plan, this only seems like there is no counter except for the enemy to bare everything to you. Even their own darkest secrets may not apply to the situation. The meteors were quite a game changer as well. Way to use their tactical advantage. You definitely showed why you were promoted, Srzek says. Thank you, Srzek, Issei replied. Ahem, Miki says. Issei replied as he was playing with Irina? Mizu says, oh. Issei said, not paying attention. I don't think they liked that response, Imagul says. No, they did not. Issei, we've received your recovery treatment from the hospital. Let's not add more to your injuries, Yakuza says. Huh? Issei replied. You better do as they say. As she had Lilith in her lap, who was watching Kano and Milikas play some card games. They're correct, Grafia says. Yes, son, you better go, Goro replied. We'll be fine, and you can see your niece later. Now give her to me, as Issei handed Irina to her, who handed Iria to her, who was still giggling happily as her caregiver. Wish me luck, Issei said, as he could feel the dread that was rolling off his mother and Irina's mother. Good luck, Toji says. He won't need it, Orpheus replied. She is his mate, and he is hers. The fact that his magic integrated with hers shows that they have high compatibility level. Good to know. Before I forget, were you going to tell me that Irina would be moving in with me, Issei says. Miki and Mizuku said, snapping out of their evil stares. Oh, she told you, Toji said. Well, it was going to be for Christmas, Garo replied. That's another thing, Toji-san. I need to transport to your place, Issei said. What? Why? Toji replied. Irina said that she is spending Christmas with you. I'd like to travel there on Christmas to see her. I would be leaving here at midnight, so thanks to the time difference, it would be 5 p.m. your time. That sounds like a wonderful idea, Mizuku says. I agree, but you should go make right with her first, Miki says. Wait, Issei-kan. What happened that caused all of this? Yakuza says. Issei let out a sigh. and noted what Irina explained to him about the song that she sang. He believed that they were good, and then he noted that training was Zenovia as he was planning to face Arius. He noted Irina's stance that he didn't need to be a hero, which he explained how he can't stand idly by and let Arius get away with things. He noted the amount of times that Irina had lost him. To Toji apologized again for the incompetence on the first one. He said that he understood how she felt, and she said that she understood his decisions. He wanted to explain the visit with Sekibara, and now he answered her questions, pertaining to the war. He thought he was doing right by indicating the sense of Arius, but he was wrong. He also explained what Ravel had to said about he and Irina being out of sync and they needed to reconnect. Oh dear, Hirato says. That girl, Mizuku says, face-palming as she sighed. Issei dear, you should not just adhere to what she says, Akaza says. But it's what Issei said. And look at the repercussions. She's doing that and feels guilty, Akaza says. So she is pushing you away to make you do what you intended to originally before she broke down, and you're going off to play hero, Miki says. Although, she will basically kill herself emotionally, Mikasi replies. She's going to feel you are not going to do anything because she asked for it in a way. Now, in her eyes, people are going to suffer because of her selfishness. You're going to have to make her understand that it's okay to be selfish, but if you're going into a war, she needs you to be all in with you. I don't think she is because of the fear of losing you again, Yakuza says. I remember when you left Ko, Mizuku says. She cried and screamed and wondered why. Thankfully, she had the decency to use her doorknob to let negative emotions in that special room. Otherwise, she would have likely been a fallen angel, Toji says. May I ask why you didn't take her with you? Mizuku says. I feared for her safety. I didn't want Michael to be pestered about her whereabouts in case the other leaders stared to look for me. Issei says. That makes sense. Since Volley had been sent out to find you, Akaza replied. Well, you're going to have to kiss and make up soon, Minerva says. She's right. You just said that she's supposed to be living with us. You're going to need to fix this before she changes her mind. Like I told you, reassure her, Drake says. Keep in mind that she holds her own blame, but you need to ease over that and remove her guilt, Mizuki says. So I ask you, Yakuza continues, Issei, when it comes to war, what do you plan to do? I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight with friends and loved ones by my side, Issei says. Maybe you should have opened up with that instead of giving an ambiguous answers, Yakuza says. She smirked. Issei blushed as he worded answers to Sekibara seemed cheap. He thought it would appease Irina, but no, it added to her guilt instead. So he turned to the couple that had issues before. Sir Zex, how do you feel when Grafia walked away from you? Issei said. Like my heart was ripped out, Sir Zex continued. Caused by my own stupidity. While I do commend you for doing what you did, believing it would make her feel calm, you know that the reason you fight is for peace. I know Azazel coached you into your peace meeting about making babies with my sister, but you genuinely want peace, Issei. That is why you fight. Now, from her side, Grafia says, I can understand. In a civil war, I couldn't stand the thought of losing Sir Zex. There were many times where I thought we should just run away together, but I came to an understanding that he needed me by his side. Your answers in the beginning, when you proclaimed that you were going to fight Arius, you're kind of saying that you don't need her, as you need to do this on your own. That is why Yakuza Dono is saying that you should have opened up with that in the first place at the beginning, Grafia said. Well, sport, after everything that was said, have you told her to be by your side, Goro says. Issei as he on his eye, did I? Based on your expression, you think you might have, but probably didn't, Toji says. Issei replied, clapping his face against his hand. I guess I'm not used to this as I thought. Your friend, Mizuki says. Mate, Issei replied. Oh, I didn't know, but she was right. You two need to reconnect. Did you even have lunch or dinner? No, I don't think we did, Issei says. Here, Yakuza said that she summoned a maid that came with her for dinner on a tray. Take this to her as you stay the night, and speak clearly this time about what you want, and speak as she wants to meet in the middle. You got it, Issei says, as he went to grab Irina's bag and tablet. We don't need to wish you luck, Goro says. I already did, Toji replied, as the other adults laughed. Thanks. Picking up the tray, as Minerva and Imagold gave him a thumbs up. The kids were too distracted in their games to notice. Lilith and Minerva's phone was lost in their own little world on that screen. With a nod, he turned and walked towards the room that had Irina occupied. Whatever confidence he did have, it began to drain as he took felt heavier and heavier. He gulped nervously as he trudged his way over the specific door. Once he got there, he felt a ton of weight on his shoulders, but he steadied himself. After all, he's been through worse, but somehow felt going through a base of necromorphs was easier than talking to Irina at this moment. Put the tray down and knock on the door, seriously. But then again, this is your mate, Drake says. Issei replied as he put the tray down and knocked twice. Irina? Silence. He knew she was in there because he could feel her presence, not just for herself, but also his mark on her. I know I worded things the wrong way today. We both did, but please, can we just talk about this? Issei says. He got nothing but silence, so he sighed and put the tray down, so he could try the door. He feared that it would have been locked, but it wasn't. He guessed Irina had a lot on her mind, that she didn't think of locking the door. Irina, Issei says, as he softly opened the door. The light from the hallway illuminated the room. He scanned for her presence and found that she had fallen asleep on the bed. He knew that she didn't change because he had a bag of her clothes, so he could see that she was still dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. He didn't know why, but he knew that she looked amazing, even if his outfit was so casual. He bent down and picked up the tray and walked into the room, setting the tray down and the foot onto the bed. He placed Irina's bag on the place of the tablet on the other side. He figured that he should wake her up to eat, since it's not always good to sleep on an empty stomach. Irina, oi, Irina, Issei said as he began to shake her shoulder. She let out a moan of annoyance and turned away from him. She let out a sigh and went back to sleep. He frowned at her reaction, so he shook her again. Irina, you gotta wake up and eat something, Issei says. This time, she reached over, grabbed his face, and pushed him away before turning back to slumber. Issei just looked stunned. He had just gotten shoved away by Irina. What are you going to do now? Snickering as she just shoved him away. Drake said, if she wants to play that game, then fine. I'll wake her up like she used to do when we were kids. Don't tell me, Drake says. Oh, yeah, Issei says as he jumped in front of Irina, making her scream. All of this jumped on top of Irina, making her scream, and a sudden increase of weight on top of her. Finally, Irina didn't say anything, realizing who was on top of her. She held a neutral expression, while Issei's smile disappeared as he felt that she looked disappointed. It made Issei feel as that disconnect began to make presence known again. I brought you dinner, Issei says, feeling disappointed as he got off her. She never looked him in the eyes. Instead of thanking him, she only continued to look off in the distance. Irina, you don't need to feel guilty about my answers to Sikiveri. I'm sorry. I was trying to do what you wanted and give an answer to reassure you that I'd be staying. However, I kept saying I and never we. At this, her eyes shifted towards him, but he wasn't looking at her at this point. He was looking up at the ceiling. It's okay to be selfish. Of course, you're an angel, so you have selflessness. However, when it comes to me, I get it, considering that you have lost me 5 times, Issei says. She stayed quiet but still continued to watch him. You're on my team now, so it should be us out there fighting together, and I want you by my side. As he laid down right across from her legs, and his gaze remained to the ceiling. I also don't want you to change your mind about transferring to my school as well. Like I said, I want you by my side. I'm not going for Aureus. We are going for Aureus. It's not going to be revenge, but it's to protect the future. This time, he moved his body position over her so he could look her in the eyes as he caressed her cheek. My future with you and your future with me. There was a part of me that believed that we should maybe break up, as he saw the fear enter her eyes, but Orpheus told me that was impossible, since my magic has practically ingrained itself with you, and I was happy about that because you are precious to me, and no, I have no intentions of letting you go to be happy with someone else. If I've got to be selfish, then so be it. I don't want you to be happy with someone else, only me. He watched as the fear began to leave her eyes, as he had reassured her that they would not break up. We are going to train. Well, actually, I'm going to heal, Issei continues. You are going to train, and we are going out there to fight that bastard is trying to ruin all of us. Are you okay with that? He saw her sigh and looked away. As a result, Issei sighed and crashed his head into the nook of her neck and just stayed there. She made no reaction, but she did look back at him. Great, the silent treatment, Issei said. In due time, partner. Yeah, Issei replied. You know, Irina says, wrapping her arms around his head and his collarbone. I was selfish, but I didn't think that you would go through and choose my selfishness. I could choose that many people were going to get hurt, so I felt guilty. I'm sorry for putting you into that position. It's fine, Issei replied. His warmth breath tickled her. I don't want to ever put you in that position again, Irina says. Well, shifting its head so he could turn a little more in her direction. I guess it's because we're out of sync with each other. I mean, this is our first time at each other in a long. The thought of losing one another is too much to bear. You don't have to be sorry about that. So how about this? Let's go on a date sometime. A date? Irina replied. Yeah, let's get back to us, and I know the way to start off. What's that? Irina says. Let's have a movie night. Movie night? Are you sure? I mean, the girls, they're not expecting me tonight. As a matter of fact, the parents would be disappointed if I left this room without reconciling with you. I see, Irina says. Well, I need to eat dinner, Irina says. You do, and I have brought it for you, but I guess you fell asleep sometimes before I started knocking, Issei says. Well, I'd like to get to it. You could get off me, Irina says, but I like it here, Issei replied. You have plenty of women that can lie on you. None of them are angels, though. Shut up, Irina says. As she gently moved him, of course he complied to her push. Could you get the tablet ready? You have to unlock it, which she huffed, but did so anyway when he handed the tablet to her. Can you pick a movie for us, Irina says. Does it matter, Issei replied. No, Irina says, shaking her head. She went to investigate what was in the tray. Issei just had to look and watch her butt wiggle a little bit as she went investigating the contents of her dinner. His mouth dried up as she blushed. His eyes traveled along her body. He didn't know why, but he would always be entranced by this woman. He would also have stunned Minerva or Immigold as well. Even they did the little things. It also did not matter whether they were naked or clothed. He did see Irina begin to turn her head and turned his gaze back to the tablet. Find anything, Irina says. How about an action thriller movie? Irina says. Okay, what's the thriller aspect? Well, there's a monster in it, so it's a horror movie, Irina says. I don't think so, but it looks like it has good reviews. Then let's watch it. Help me with this. Sure, Issei says, as he put the tablet and they moved their trays. Oh. Okay. Dinner and a movie at our favorite time in the old house, when it was just us, Issei says. You don't do it with Minerva or Immigold, Irina replied. We have movie nights, but the only thing we come close to this, we never eat while we watch. So you only pig out and watch the movies with me, Irina says. I think you're the only one I can pig out with, since you were a tomboy. Guess you're right, Irina says. Oh, we also got it just to drink. Check my bag. Okay, Issei replies, shifting his tray, handing the tablet over to moving her to get the bag, her bag. As he looked through, he did find a couple bottles of juice. He was surprised by how cushioned they are. The reason was because he never heard any clinking of the bottles while he was carrying the bag. He figured that their weight for her in case his stay in the hospital bed lasted longer. Here you go, Issei says, handing the bottle top to her. Thank you, Irina replied as she took the bottle. So what are we watching? Irina says. Godzilla -1. Oh, I remember how we used to stare at guys about beating all those titans and being heroes when we were young, Irina says. Yeah, now we're in the supernatural fighting beings like this, but on a smaller scale, since I don't think we have faced an enemy as big as Godzilla, except the evil dragons, Trihexa, the Jabberwocky, to name a few. True, and here, Irina says, as she handed one of her wireless earbuds, don't worry, I made sure it was clean. We don't want to disturb each other. Thanks. As he put it into his right ear. They situated themselves. A knock on the door was heard. They looked at each other. Irina gave a nod to indicate it was okay to let whoever was in. Issei nodded back. Who is it? Issei says. It's me, Mizuki. Is everything okay? You can come in, Ka-san, as the door opens up to reveal her mother. Oh, thank goodness. I was about to call one of you, Mizuki says, showing her phone. However, unbeknownst to either of the two, Mizuko took a photo of them in bed together. Everything all right, Mizuki says? We're about to watch a movie while we eat and go to bed, with Irina nodding in agreement. Okay, do you feel any better, Iri-chan? As her daughter blushed at the name. I'm fine. Why? Irina says. Because you're a bit despondent when you came into the castle. Oh, I'm sorry to make you worry. I'm doing better, Irina says. We thought you might have had an argument with Issei-kun. No, we did, but we're working on it. It's all good, giving a smile to her mother. All right. Oh, and Issei-kun, your parents and I would like to speak with you tomorrow. Oh, okay, Issei says. Good night, my little troublemakers, Mizuki says, making them both blush at the nickname as they were both troublemakers when they were young. However, Mizuki knew how to appease them by taking them to the store, or play about heroes. She would also watch them when they were watching Super Sentai, which both of them were big fans of when they were young, or rather, they were both still fans of. Good night, Issei and Irina both said at the same time. Mizuki closed the door when she did, and they breathed a sigh of relief. Must be something important they want to talk to you about, Irina says. Yeah, will you be alright with the other girls, Issei said. Sure, I'm going to be their new housemate, so I better get used to it. Issei replied. What is it? Irina says. I'll have to contact Rabble. I once again forgot to ask her a gift that was given to me. I guess you got some planning to do tomorrow, Irina says. Guess so, but for now, I'm going to enjoy my night with the Tenchi wrapping his arm around her. She smiled as she played the movie for them to watch while enjoy their dinner. They were unaware of the gossip that was happening outside the room. The adults, as Ivigal and Minerva, were watching over the children. Haruto told her great-granddaughter again, so she did not mind that she would tell stories to the children. The stories did fascinate the children as they were about their big brother figure. Haruto noted that they had a little bit of Issei within them. It made the invasions of Ilinus and Isseius and Irinus. She also enjoyed spunky attitude of Minerva, and calm one of Imbigold. Of course, the couple in their room sneezed and pondered about who was talking about them. Must be our parents, Issei said. Most likely, Irina replied. She knew firsthand, since her parents teased her about Issei for a decade and even more. She even returned to Ko. They reminded of her own curiosity with perversion when she had noted about what Issei tried to do to her. Of course, her father noted that her in time church suppresses her. Her mother teased her about the possibility of the two getting together and how she didn't proclaim her love for Issei, something she would have done if he was not a devil. However, after sharing the news of the alliance, she reconciled with him. Sadly, he still had googly eyes for Rias, but she was content with having a piece of his heart. Now, Rias was out of the picture, and she cemented her status as one of his mates. Although, unlike the others, her mark was not done through sex. She noted her selfishness would have caused some issues, but Issei knew of her worries. But then again, they were a team again, so they would handle this war together. But for now, they were just going to enjoy the movie and their dinner. This was the repercussion, and she was going to enjoy every minute of it. Not only her, but Issei as well. He could not wait to take her on a date when she moved in as well. However, he would have to prepare the deal with said parents tomorrow, as he knew what they wanted to talk about. It was going to be about the rings, and something that told him that Yakuza had a plan to get the girls out of the palace. But that's for now. That's for tomorrow. He was going to enjoy tonight. He kissed on Erin and Chicken. They continued to enjoy the movie in each other's arms. Oh, that was a crazy chapter. That was a great chapter. That was chapter 18, by the way. Once again, my voice is completely gone because these chapters are like an hour and 30 minutes long, and it's going to make me end it one day. But thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It was really good. It was really fun to read. I like this episode as much. I also like Rias's maturity in this chapter. I like what he did to Devlin and Lunar. They totally deserved it. And thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. If at all possible, let's try to hit 300 to 400 likes for this episode. Without further ado, Spartanic Guards DxD out.